All right, resuming. I am going to restate what I said before because I had fucked up the sound a minute ago when I was explaining this, and I'm going to discard that one. But I'm looking back at this. We're on the sentences thing that was built last time, and I'm trying to account for a phenomenon that happens when you have a thing that automatically breaks up sentences. You have a problem with things like abbreviations, right, or initializations. And what you get is it looks like it's a period space, right? The thing thinks that it's the end of a sentence, but it's really not. And so what I'm doing is I've added sort of a little new control here on this sentences sheet, and I'm calling it combine. In fact, while I'm thinking about it, I'm going to fix it so that when it writes it out, it does so correctly. This is a sentence page and the text, and we would have combine, and we'll make our quotes consistent. And then we would say okay, so the contents of combine will always, when it writes, will always be a blank because of the nature of how this thing is going to work. The idea is that I can. There's this. I probably said before. This thing is this feedback loop, right? I can put instructions into this, and it will do things differently the next time it runs. Well, this is the first time we're doing that. What we're going to do is read this page in, and as it is recompiling, or as it is compiling the raw text as it goes, it's going to refer back to this where we already have some instructions. And what's going to happen is it's going to get to this paragraph 5 of chapter of this. It's going to get to this area, to this index, basically down to this paragraph, and it's going to look at the sentences within this, and it's going to see, I have some instructions right here to do something. In this case, we're going to be combining, and what the idea is that this is a test case, so it's not perfect. So let's look at this one. What we have is, I have gone in here, and at some point a few minutes ago, I put an X right here, right? And so next time it runs, what I want it to do is recognize these two lines should be one single sentence and assign it as number 3, and that this would be number 4 and that this would be number 5, right? In this sentence here, right? Like, so see these index numbers here, right? Let's think about it like this. So this is paragraph 7. All of this is paragraph 7. We have 6 sentences according to the thing that just breaks it up like that, right? What we know is that 3 and 4 should actually be a single sentence. So there's actually only 5 sentences in this thing, right? And so what we want it to look like at the end is we want it to look like this. We want it to be to where this is all kind of in one cell, that this cell, or that this line doesn't exist, and that these are 4 and 5, right? So that's what it would look like, and then there would be no need to combine that anymore, right? So we want it to look like it did coming in, and we want it to look like this coming out, right? So that from now on, when it does this, it will see, okay, this is the sentence piece that we're starting with as our starting point, and it's just going to be able to do that. So putting that together is what this exercise is about right now. Oops. And what I've done here is I've sort of made myself a test case, and I've said that what we're going to look at is this paragraph 5, and I'm going to say that I want to combine these first 2. They don't really need to, but I'm also saying that I want to combine these 3 in a row, right? Like so, because that's a more robust case, right? And we have to deal with this to where we have 2 in the same, more than 1 in the same paragraph, right? There's got to be some way of taking care of all of this. And the way it'll do it is it'll go through, it'll find all these things, it'll identify them, by kind of index, within the paragraph index type of thing, and it will keep them in a place that's like a cleaning data file, right? That cleaning data file, I'd be able to go into and delete things out of if I decided I made a mistake, right? But it would just be sort of like this list, this ongoing list of corrections to be made, right? And we'll just find them a bit at a time. We can add to it over time, and it'll just, because this thing's going to run a lot, right? It's like we don't run this once and then we're doing it by hand. We're continuously running it. That's what's going on here. So I'm going to proceed here. Let's see. I was putting this back in, and we're going to say the column widths are. This one would be another 8, and we would wrap column. Yeah, that's all still the same. Gutter column is I instead of H. Okay, so now it will recreate this thing, and that this column will now be part of this set. Meanwhile, up here where we're actually doing the work on this is in parse raw text, and where we are is we go through and we pull together. We do the first pass where we break up all the pieces, and then we go back through it and we make a pass through and compile it up to paragraphs level, and then we break those into sentences, right? So this is where we actually want to do the work, breaking the paragraphs into sentences. So this is nice and clean. Everything that we're going to do is going to take place inside this little area right here that we can see on the screen, right? So for I and chapter and the enumerative text, right? So I've got I and J and K, right, are the index. That's this number here, the chapter index. The paragraph index is J. The sentence index is K. So I and J, those are fine. We want those to stay just like they are. Nothing that we're going to do here is going to change how a paragraph might be enumerated. In fact, I think that's going to be clean the entire time, because that's like really fundamental, right? There was a space. It's an empty space. There's a paragraph. Unless there's more than one, in which case it's a page, in which case we don't count it like a paragraph. So we may actually get to places where a paragraph coincidentally starts at the beginning of a page or across pages within the same chapter, and that we would have to artificially break up paragraphs. So never say never. Anyway, here in this timeline, we're saying for I of the chapter, that's fine. For J of the paragraph index. So at this point, what we want to do is we want to get the data that comes out of this, right? We need to look for these X's. Specifically, we need to boil it down to just these things and then get these X's. So up here, right, in the main, when we first start out, we're going to parse the spreadsheet data. I swap places here, right? Because I need to have this stuff from this data file before I actually do the parse, because now it's kind of dependent on it. But no big deal. I literally just switched places with the code. And I added this. So the data of the sentences is I'm going to read the map sheet of this, and I'm pulling out this section, right? So from the file, from the sheet sentences, the section sentences. So from the file, from the sheet sentences, from the section sentences becomes data sentence. So what I need to do here, though, is I need to pass that S&T Okay. So now when we get down there, we have this data SNT. Here it is. I'm going to put in sys.exit here because we don't want to actually go all the way through the program. We want to stop kind of when we get to this point. Okay, so I want to look. I just want to look at what's in the data sentence, and we'll drill it down from there. Or actually, we'll look at print I chapter J para IDX, so we can see like where we are. In fact, let's just do this once. So we'll put a sys exit there, so that way we're going through the four, we get to the first one, we do it, then we exit. Because I don't need to see a million things on the screen. Okay. So I index, J index, okay. So really all we need is the para IDX because that contains all the other stuff. All right. So we have the chapter index, which is the three-piece thing. One, or chapter number 1, starts on page 6, is called Year of Glad. All of that is necessary because of because there are repeating names. So we have to kind of have all these pieces of information. So this inner parentheses is the chapter, 3 pieces. The outer parentheses is the chapter and the paragraph within that chapter. This paragraph 1 within this chapter. And so what we want to look for here is index 1. Let's see, we want chapter index 1, paragraph index 1. So we want to grab that piece and that piece and use them on this and this. And then we want to cut it down to just that paragraph because at this point we're inside a chapter, we're inside a paragraph. So we want CIDX equals para IDX 0 because it's in the first, because the 3-piece thing is in the first position and it's in the 0 position of the first thing. Okay, so the outer tuple is 2 things, 0 and 1. The inner thing is 3 things, 0, 1, 2. So we're at index 0, 0, at 2-level index. And that gets us this 1. And then PIDX equals para IDX 1. So we can say CIDX, PIDX. We get 1 and 1. Perfect. Okay, so we can say now that, let's see, and then we'll just say key equals that. And then we want to say that within the data frame, data SNT, so we'd say data SNT equals data SNT set index. Can I give it to right here? Do I have to tell it multi-index? We would could say chapter IDX and paragraph IDX. Okay, so that did work, and so what we want to say is data SNT equals data SNT dot loc of key. Dot loc gets that. Chapter 1, paragraph, chapter 1, paragraph 1. So we could say and we say if j is greater than 5, break. Actually, we'll say if j equals 4, then we'll do all of this. Yeah, because I'm just trying to get to the I'm just trying to get to like my perfect example, the one that I want to play with. All right, none of chapter IDX, paragraph IDX are in the columns. Wait, what? Hmm. Okay, that's why. Because I'm a dipshit. Yeah, I was trying to run it multiple times. Um, all right. All right. We're getting there. So chapter next one. Oh, it's because there's 3. Okay. There we go. That's our number 5. This is what we want to do. Okay, so now what? All right, I've got that, And I've got I think it's here that we have to do this. So we get the existing version, and we break it into what it thinks are naturally the sentences. And before we get to the place where we're going to write stuff in there, let's see. Before we get to this place where we're going to write the number of sentences, we want this to be correct. We want the length of the sentences to be correct. That means cleaned. So sentences equals clean sentences by paragraph. Okay. And we would feed it S data and sentences. And we can feed it I and J. No, it's being done as a block. It's not being done one at a time. I just want to look at it for right now. All right, so I've got kind of doing this thing. We got to go because we can read through the sentences, right? Here's what I have from the data file. Here's what I have now. So I want to look at this and say, I go, well, we can just do this. We can say for sent and sentences. Here, we'll do this. Do it the same way. All right. Look at K plus 1. Okay, so I get to this one. I look it up on here. Do I first of all, let's do this. S data equals data, S data, sentence IDX, text. combine. These are the only things we need. Yeah. Okay. All right, so we have sentence IDX, which does correspond with this to start with. I wonder if we put it like this. Will it let that thing be wider? Nope. All right, doesn't matter. All right, so we're doing it for real. Because I've got to leave it to where we have to keep a record of what it is, and we have to keep it in a separate place, and we have to trigger the cleaning based on there being that second place. Because the combine isn't always going to be there. Let's see. All right, so we're going to look at each sentence in this way. First of all, am I this? Do I match? Because the thing is, every time it reads the text, it's going to interpret it with this, right? This is the natural interpretation when it says, give me sentences. And the number 4 is not what it's going to say later on, right? It's going to be, because it's going to combine these 1 and 2, right? So it's going to say combine 1 and 2, and then it's going to say combine 4, 5, and 6, right? According to the instructions that I made here, right? Combine 1 and 2, and then combine 4, 5, and 6 because I got 2 in a row. Those are what I got to account for. And I know it because when I hit these, but next time that ain't gonna be there. And these numbers won't match up with these. Because next time it's gonna say this again, but there's only gonna be like, 6 lines on here. So we have to have sort of the representation of knowing that it's gonna be that. So in our little data structure where we're going to hold this stuff, we want to say, first of all, I know what chapter and paragraph I'm in. That's fine. We've already got that. And then I want to say what the natural position of the thing is. And then the combo this is weird. It's weird building these sort of circular things, because these feedback loops, because it's a chicken or the egg thing, right? Ultimately it's going to check both things, but you have to start with one of them. Which the obvious answer to that question, the chicken or the egg thing, is stupid, because it's obviously an egg. It has to be. Because the last proto chicken, whatever it was, laid an egg that the chicken came out of. But for purposes of the colloquialism, it does sum up what the problem here. Because I gotta say, because I gotta write it in the absence of it being there first. All right, we do it like this. So when we get here, we're gonna have data sentences, and let's see. And we can say cleaning equals para cleaning equals okay. Here's how we're going to do it. We're going to start out by saying it's a dictionary, right? This thing is going to, we're going to load this thing up. Okay. Let's see. If S data, no, wait a minute. If S data, kind of feel like I need to take a minute with this. guess I need to learn how to splice together tape, because what I need to do is stop and to, to take a breath, take a walk, and think about this, because it's a weird. There's a sequence to this that I want to do the right way, and I don't want to rush it just because I decided to hit record on the camera, and I don't want to have like dead air on something that doesn't fucking matter. But I do need to think about this, and that requires walking around, and that messes up with the headphones. So I'm going to stop this for now, and I'll figure out how to, and I'll start it again once I do this, which is probably going to be after dinner. But like, I'll come back to this point, and before I type another thing, I'll push play again, and I'll start re and I'll figure out how to splice them together before I do the final thing, and say that's the whole one. Um, so yeah, video shit. Anyway, I'm gonna stop this for this time being, and and through the magic of video editing, I'll be back in 1 second. Okay, well, it's actually the following day, but through the magic of technology and the video, you as a mere consumer of media would have no way of knowing that I now am not exactly the I of a few seconds ago when I said I was going to go away for a minute. No, 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 I'm an entirely different me the next day. But there are no clues, because I've done this seamlessly. Okay, so I thought about what I was thinking about, and there's a couple of things that, I was overthinking a couple of things. Particularly the way, what I was agonizing over there was the notion of how to handle the whole thing about the indexing of the sentences. In other words, when we do this right, 1, 2 would become 1, this would become 2, these 3 would become 3, that would become 4, that would become 5. And in a way that is workable, and we can call that a separate measure, but I realized that I was being dumb because of something else I think I mentioned, which is that in the end, this indexing system is completely goddamn arbitrary and doesn't matter. So why would it matter if this goes 1, 3, 4, 7, 8? There's still an ascending order. The number itself is still useful. But moreover, the number would always correspond to whatever the thing was at the beginning. When it does its natural parse, this paragraph is going to have 8 things in it, unless I use a different parser at the very core, which there's not really much reason to, because I can fix things like this. There's it's unless it would parse a different way and recognize that CT is, both an initialization and not at the end of a sentence naturally, therefore requiring that this period actually be the end of a sentence and not the end of a person's name, that it'll, unless I change that very bottom layer, which I don't plan to do, this is always going to resolve to 8. So fuck it. Why do I need to renumber it? We can say that the length of the list is 5. The length of the final list will be 5. It will just be that there's some numbers missing. And those would always sort of like be, call out obvious to this or whatever. And we could make another list that goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 if we really want to. But if we keep this ID system intact throughout the entire thing, then I can make multiple references to it. And it's just that there's some numbers missing, but who gives a fuck about that, because this is arbitrary to begin with. Um, so I feel a lot better about that now, and I am going to get back into what I was doing here, which is a couple of things. So one, I realized that this cleaning, oops, this cleaning is going to be its own thing. So um, So right now, on this very first one, there is no cleaning document. So we're going to sort of bootstrap this code into making it for us. But then I'm going to go, but once I've done that, I'm going to go back in and change this thing so that it reads from that file and pulls it up. Um, so, and then we are here, both, we are both doing cleaning and looking for new cleaning. Um, Does this sentence need to be added to the cleaning? Is this sentence flagged for cleaning? Do the change. Do I don't know, whatever the cleaning. No. I'm trying to be ambiguous here because there's going to be multiple cleanings in the end. I know there are. There's going to be things where, I don't know, for instance, words need to be changed, right? Because the there's something in the transcription, something in the original transcription somewhere went wrong, and we can either meticulously change that by hand, or we can create a list of things that need to be changed. We're going to create a list of things that can be changed. Okay, so we'll do this. Oh, no, wait a minute. That still didn't work. All right. So I'm going to get into the paragraph. We're going to create S data. If it's the one that I care about, then we're going to print it. That's yeah. Doggone it. That's this part here. This is S data for the sentence data. And then we'll go through the sentences. If I'm on the right one, I'll print those out. And then we actually don't need to sysexit anymore, because we can just let that one do it. Let's make sure we've got this working. Okay, that's doing what I want. All right, so my way of looking at it is now a little bit cleaner, and I don't have that little bundle of code sitting down here being in the way. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to, make it cleaner. Okay. It's just an example of a couple of kinds of cleaning that we'll put under here. All right, so what we want to look at is so we're going to just look at K. Okay, so if, let's see, combine equals false. If S data loc K, so that'll give us this over here is 0 through 7, which is what we'll get out of K, right? Because we're going to go through K, or we're going to go through it. So it's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 is what we'll get in that order. So as we get those, this is showing us 1 through 8. That's because I told it to print K plus 1. So we're going to go 0, and we're going to get this line, and we're going to grab just this, right? So we want to grab if S data loc K combine, let's see. Yeah, because anything that's not that is just an empty string, so we can just say that it's there. If it's there, meaning it's not null, meaning it's not an empty string in this case. S data loc K combine equals true. That way we don't have to say it's X. I could just put anything in combine and it would work. Okay, so is this sentence flagged for cleaning? Well, let's see. Actually, we don't even need to do that. We just need to do the actual thing here. So we would say para cleaning. No. Actually, okay, so we want to do this first. We want to see, is this already flagged? And the way that we'll do that is, we'll do that in a minute. But that would actually take place before this. So let's see. We would have if let's see, do cleaning equals false. So what we're looking for is to say, is this thing already in our structure, in our para cleaning structure, right? Para cleaning. Right now, there's nothing in it, but what it's going to be is para cleaning chapter. No, it'll be para cleaning text. Because some may have none, and do we want to include them in the structure? Do we want to include an empty thing just so they're always there? And we can just say, go grab whatever is in the cleaning for this. I mean, we're not going to hurt anything by doing that. I think that would actually make it cleaner, easier to deal with. Let's see. well, but we're going to just do this once. Let's do it in stages. We'll do it in stages. We'll do it like this. We're just going to go ahead and do a couple of things to let this thing be sort of to get the first one. I'm overthinking it again. I'm trying to build something in that's like nice to take care of it when it's not there, but we're only going to do it once, so I'm just going to do it. All right, so paracleaning equals that. Paracleaning text equals that. For chapter, we would say paracleaning append. No, paracleaning text chapter equals another dictionary. And then we can say paracleaning text chapter para idx. Or is it text chapter we can just do this. I can say CIDX, PIDX, because this is the point where it's going to be. We don't need to do the fancy ones. Paracleaning text CID PID equals a list. No. It's still a dictionary. Okay, so that's going to be a list. And then if paracleaning text CIDX PIDX K equals, no, is not blank, then do cleaning equals true. Okay. Okay, so what this should do is that, let's see, this one will go away, this one will go away. Here, we'll go on the actual line. I hate inline comments, but in in this case, because I'm going to delete these in a minute because I'm only doing this piece once, I'm going to do that. I hate them so much that I will delete them. I'll delete the line because I'll see it and I'll go, no. The reason I don't like those is because I have written language parsers before and they're a huge pain in the ass. Because you can put anything in, you can put anything in an inline comment, right? You could put code that looks legitimate in an inline comment. It means that you can't say that the end of a line or that the last character in a line, for instance, is a closing bracket or something like that. That's very, very important when you're trying to parse through code and understand what somebody means when they write a program, especially if the program might or might not be correct. So writing linters and things like that is, very challenging anyway, and it is only exacerbated by these fucking inline comments. And that shouldn't affect the fact that I may or may not use them myself for whatever purpose. They exist for a reason that is not the worst reason in the world. However, I don't know. I mean, I guess I'm allowed to have some biases if they're stupid. No. I'm allowed to have stupid biases, not because they're stupid. That it is a stupid bias that doesn't harm anybody else makes me not feel so bad about it. I think that's the difference. Go away. Go away. The misspelling will even piss me off more. Okay, so this would be ultimately this would be something like there. Para cleaning equals retrieve. JSON. I'm going to dump this to a JSON file. Is what I'm going to be doing. So. It'll be something like that. Okay, so we're going to create this para cleaning, and we want to show me para cleaning, and then we'll dump. Okay. Yeah, this whole thing is going to be replaced. That's the part that's actually writing it in. That's what it's been doing all this time. But because I'm dealing with this cleaning thing, we're going to, so actually it's going to be replaced. It's going to be replaced with like, it'd be like that. Let's say, actually what we'll do is this. Clean sentences equals a list. And we will fill that list here. Then this will do just as it's already doing. Oh, but this will give us that. Hey, I see. All right, you know what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to. Hey, I know how we're going to do it. I know how we're going to do it. Okay, we're going to, yeah, we will go ahead and have the uncleaned ID, original ID, and the cleaned ID. Because the thing is here, look, we make clean sentences here, then we go through this. Well, what happens now? There's only 5, right? K only gets up to 5, so we're back to my original problem of I've got 2 indexes. Well, I can just do it this way. Let's see. K plus 1. Well, it's going to be clean sentences. No, I know how I'm going to do it, but I'm not going to do that quite yet. Well, no, I am. Okay. All right. So cleaning. I'm skipping ahead here a little bit. I'm just trying to make this set up so that I can have this. What the way it's going to work will partially be in here. Right. Clean sentence to list. We can just say clean sentences append. We'll just say sentence for now. It should just be doing exactly what it's already doing. But what I want to do is that. So now instead of just passing in the sentence, is this? Yeah, this is still a text blob. Ultimately, I just want the text. That. I think that's how you do it. Because up here, right, this sentences is the text blob sentences. Each one of the things in the sentence is itself a text blob, I think, which when I want to use just the string, I could do this actually. You can just give it the string function of the thing and it'll return just the text. That way I'm not passing it. I want to pass the most primitive object through, basically. I generally try to do that. Only what you need. Okay, so I'm going to write it in. We're going to have, let's see. Just call it cleaning. And it'll be a JSON file. Alright, so a initc file is the name of the thing. And we want to say, do I already have my JSON stuff? I only have kill program in there. Alright, that's fine. I'll just do it the regular way. I have little utilities that I built for bringing in and saving out JSON files, but it's really only a couple of lines of code, so it's not Python save JSON to file. It's JSON dumps, I think. JSON, yeah, JSON dumps. Okay. We want to say this. Oh, for God's sakes. All right. With open and that C file. C file. For writing as f.write json.dumps para cleaning. That's it. Okay, so now when we run it, it should write a file with a basic structure in it. Shit. Oh. You know what? I don't want to use the full chapter thing, so here we'll just do it this way. Okay. So when it hits it the first time, it will add this chapter IDX, and then that'll be there. That's why it didn't work before. All right, so run. Yes, yes. And we're hitting our 3 things there, and we hit some more, or we hit each one of these was hitting correctly. Hits at 1, hits at 4, hits at 5. These were from another chapter. Oh, I haven't imported JSON. Import JSON. All right, nothing in there yet. That's fine. Or I got to run this on the whole thing if I want it to just be gone. But there's that cleaning JSON file. Let's look at it real quick. Data cleaning JSON or cleaning dot JSON. Okay, so yeah, we get text at the top, which allows us to have notes and table of contents if we want to change those as well. And then we have chapter 1, paragraph 1, sentence 1, sentence 2, sentence 3, 4, 4, and then paragraph 2. So it's this nested thing. And look at this. We find those where they are. And if I didn't like one, I could literally go into this file and have a huge pain in the ass while I mean, when is there going to be thousands of these? What's going to happen when we get it wrong? Do we have an uncombine? I think we would just develop an uncombine at that point. We need a way to both write and read, or like we need to read in everything that's here, and we need to be able to modify it as well. We need so yeah. I think I'm okay with this. I think I'm okay with this because we can. I was sort of imagining that there would be like a text that like almost like a file we could read, like a text file that would just have a list, and I could do that, and I could make it like even almost like a sheet in the Excel. Or just nah. We're better off having it this, because the thing is, this is going to be like once we put these things in, I don't think there's going to be a great deal of like, eventually we'll have the cleaning kind of like where we want it. And going back and forth with it is not, I mean, it is a whole phase of the thing, but that's not the part that we're trying to make super user friendly with the undo cleaning things that we've made, right? Like we would think about it and deliberate before we say, well, we want to add this cleaning to the thing. Okay, so the point is now this thing exists, right? So we can just say these can go away. All right, how do we get the it's just JSON load. All right. With open init C file as F. json.load. F. Oops. Okay, so it is pulling that out. And I can just do this, because it's now got the structure that I want. Okay. All right, so we open it up, we read stuff. Maybe we're going to add to it. Maybe we're going to take away from it. Ultimately, we save it, but most times I think we're just going to be reading it and writing it back, and it's going to be the same structure, right? So, but that's fine. We have a way into and out of it now. All right, so each paragraph, each sentence. Now, getting back into, let's see. So, is this sentence flagged for cleaning? Actually, we can just do this. We can say cleaning list equals. Okay, so now we can just give it a specific instruction of uncombine, right? Um, let's see, elif. All right, so if it's specifically the word uncombine, then we would delete it from the list. Otherwise, we add it to the list. Right. And because we just linked it up here, we should be making the change. We'll test this out once we're done. Ooh, elif, not elf. We'll test that out when it's done. All right, so, and there won't be anything under this yet. It's just, you know, clean sentences to list. Let's see. How are we going to build up the sentence? Right, because, let's see. Because we have to give it an instruction to swap the following one. So it's like I'm going to have a sentence buffer. Like that. Alright, if there's nothing there, then we can just, well, no, because we may have to imply it. Let's see. We have to be able to look ahead. We have to be able to look ahead and say that the next one I'm going to forego the easy reference because we're going to have to look at, sometimes we're going to have to look at k plus 1, right? Um, all right. Uncombine, we remove it. So now we add to this one and to the following one. Uh, of course, this is going to break if it's the last sentence of a paragraph and we mistakenly put it in there. So it's programming. Most programming is sitting here staring at a screen in utter unentertaining silence. What I'm thinking about here is when we have these multiples, right? What's going to happen to this, right? Because it's going to say, well, I'll just do it and show you. Okay, so why is it no longer? Wait, hey. Why is that now not working? 429? CIDX, PIDX. I think this may be a take it offline thing, because this is where another place where it's going to be a stare down or a walk around when we come back tomorrow and be in different clothes again. But you'd never know because of the video. Yeah, I think maybe what I want to do here is I'm going to take a little more time with this and do a little more staring. And at that point, at the point at which I will actually write code offline and then come back and say what I did. And that's probably going to be more fruitful than, watching me do this for another hour. Yeah, I'm going to have to go ahead and cut it here. And maybe just put like a coda on this when I'm done. But there would be a transition, something like this. Okay. Well, I'm glad I took that time because I made a lot of changes and made it more complicated and less complicated. We'll go through all the actual changes that I made here, and then take a look at what we're getting. Reset this back to nothing, no instructions. Change this to just say cleaning instruction, because we're going to add stuff in here rather than have like one different thing for each kind of thing. I made this more complicated than I need to. Turns out we didn't really actually need, if I'm going to put instructions in here, we don't actually need the output file. So I can, or the separate output cleaning file, the JSON file. So I'm actually ditching all of that stuff. And that we might take something like this and say, here is our, here's our number 5. We've got 1 through 8. Excuse me, we've got 1 through 8. And let's say that we want to say combine plus 1. Okay, so what I want the behavior to be is what we talked about before, that this would all be one thing, and that this would go from 4 to 6, even though this would stay 4, 5, 6, 7 instead of 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And let's do that one. And we'll say that those are going to be that. I could say combine plus 2, but we'll just do this one for now for demonstration purposes. Actually, let's do this. Let's say that this one, not this one, that this one. Let's say that one's combined plus 2, and then we'll undo it because it shouldn't actually be that. So I'm going to say that, and then we're going to do this, and what we should see is that that when it remakes the file, that it will do so with the lines reading the way that we want them to. All right, here we go. And what we see, combine 1, right? And so our 5 goes like this. 1, 2, 3, and then 4, but there's no 5, and then 6, and there's no 7 and 8, because I told it to combine these two, right? So when I look at this one, CT is beside me. There, that looks right. This one shouldn't be together. It is. I'm going to just delete that. See, here's the other one. This worked the way that we wanted it to. Okay, so I did one by mistake. I've taken it out just by deleting the thing. Let it process again. And we've got just what we wanted. It's doing the one we want. It put the other one back. So it's as simple as this. I can say combine plus what's some number, and it will give me the thing that I want. So let's look at the code, clean some stuff up because I made some notes, and some of these things don't need to be here. So this, first of all, when I'm pulling in the sentence data, I decided to go ahead and index it by chapter and paragraph IDX. That's just, I had this in the middle of the function, but it really just needs to happen kind of when we get there. Whenever we look at this page, we would always default to this being the index that we want to look at least at first. We could always rebuild it, but that's a good starting place. So I'm just going to delete this note because that's there. So when we get down to the parse raw text and we want to go pull out the cleaning, well, it turns out that we don't want this file after all. So I'm just going to delete this steps. I'm just going to delete this little section here. So right when we open the thing, we're going to start this individual thing. I don't actually need those either, at least not for now. Well, they're okay. So I'm putting in an empty structure to allow cleaning in any one of the given places. And within text, it's going to be chapter, paragraph, sentence. Okay. So between there and down here, we do the whole first classification piece, which all stayed the same. Then we get down here, recompile it back up into paragraphs, again, all the same. And then here we get to the place where we're actually starting to do this stuff. And as we go through each paragraph, And I went through a whole thing about how I was holding the indices, because when I saved it out to JSON and pulled it back in, it was casting the numbers as text, I think because of the way that the dictionary works. It doesn't like, the JSON doesn't necessarily like numbers being the keys to dictionaries, but Python's okay with it. So what was happening was I had one place where it was making the thing inside of Python, holding it as numbers, but then if I would read in the JSON, it was holding it as text, and so I had to recast one as the other in order to actually do the lookup. But since I ditched the output file, I don't actually need any of that, so I'm just going to delete it. So then we're going through sentence by sentence, and we're holding two things. We have the clean sentences, which is where we're going to dump our new list, our revised list, and we have this skips, and skips is the number of things that I'm going to skip, right? So first of all, if there's anything in skip, then we're going to skip the line, but we're going to start reducing it to 0. So if I said combine 2, then skips would be 2. I'm going to skip the next 2 lines, right? Well, I get to the first line. Skips is greater than 0 because it's 2. So I say skips minus equals 1, which makes skips now 1, and I get rid and I jump to the next line, right? Skips is now 1, so I remove it down to 0 and skip to the next line. Now skips is 0, and I skip over this, right? So I have skipped over 2 lines by counting down, and that's how we do that. Then, right, I kept saying string of sentence, and it's easier just to cast it. Again, I'll casting SIDX being the k plus 1 that we're actually using as the number. So this k is going to be 0 through 7, but we actually want it to be 1 through 8, so we'll just freeze it there. Then this again is about like, go pull it out of the cleaning document that we made, but that no longer exists, so goodbye. So now we want to now we're only just going to look at the instruction place. We're just going to look at this field and say, is there an instruction? Okay, yes there is, or no there's not, or whatever. So we say if right. Okay, so look at this here now. When I have pulled in this data, I want to look at this and this and this. Okay, so I get down to the next one. I want to look at this, I want to look at this and this and this. Well, what's happening is it's going through the 1 through 8, right? When we say for k in sentence enumerate, or when k sentence and enumerate sentences, that's going to be our 0 through 7. It's going to be the 1 through 8 that we're looking at. SIDX is going to be 1 through 8. Well, if and we want the k here because that's what we're going to look at. But if as data lock of k right, because our S data is going to be 0 through 8, or 0 through 7 rather, right? So when I want to look at k equals 4, which would be 5 on here, which is the one that's missing, is the important part, right? I get to the one that's missing, and I try to do the lookup, and I say that my index is 1, 5, 4, or it's actually 1, 5 with the position 4, or position 5 rather, which is 4. then that might not be there. It might not be there to look up, right? The one that was skipped doesn't have a lookup. So that's why we have to say if K is in there, then pull it. Then we're going to pull it. We're going to pull it out of here, and I'm doing this whole semicolon thing because maybe I could do this, right? I could have some other some other kind of cleaning. We don't want to restrict it to just this one thing, just because it's the first thing we thought of. So by making it just like a list like that, we could do that. Okay, so we go and we grab the cleans, and now we have those available to go through. So the next piece is we want to validate those, right? Do the things in here actually make sense? And so what it does is it kind of like it's one, it's going to clean out the white space. Actually, we could just do, yeah. So any cleaning instructions are going to be lowercase, they're going to be stripped of any white space, and we're going to replace any internal white space with nothing. We don't have to do that there. So we would look through and we would say, look through each one of the cleans, which might be semicolon separated. So we go to the first one, and so we say combine plus one, and that what we're trying to get is the number out of here, right? So we got to check and see, is there even a plus? Is it like if there's a plus, is there something after the plus? If there's something after the plus, is it a number? And so all of that, and then we say, okay, if we've gotten all that far, is that number like, because if I did this and I said right there, well, look at this. I'm at the end of the line, or I'm at the end of the paragraph, right? What's it going to combine with? The first thing of the next paragraph? No. You can only compare it. It can only do things in the same paragraph. So that doesn't even make sense. So it would warn us against something like that. So if we try to give it instructions that it can't use, then it's going to tell us. And so then I had this whole section in here about reconciling it with the stuff that was in the other file, and that's not necessary. So there's more code that goes. And here I put this sort of like, this is in case, this is sort of a placeholder for when I have a different kind of cleaning. I presume that there's going to be something where I want to replace a text with another text, or something like that. And I would call that correct, correct something. And so, just so that this combined set is not on its own. Oh, look how much cleaner it is. Okay. So now we do have a good list of cleans, and we want to put that into our big corpus thing here. We want to include it here. So we're going to go through and say, of this cleaning thing, the one that we set way up here, right? So is the chapter in there? If it's not, put it there. Is the paragraph in the chapter? If it's not, put it in there. If and then if all of those things are there, or once all of those things are there, because it's just going to force them, then we put in the sentence. So we're keeping a running list of these things. Then we would go through and combine the and actually do the combines. Okay, so on the sentence we're on, we say the sentence is the sent is the sentence, and if the cleaning, if we have this cnum, if we have a number that we are going to combine, then for the next two things, so we say the sentence is whatever it is plus a space plus whatever the next sentence is, which is, so for range and cnum. So cnum may be 2, right? We wanted to combine 2. So for 0 and then 1, right? That's what L is going to be, right? So we would actually think of that as L plus 1. So whatever sentence we started on plus that offset plus 1 and then 2 on the next one, we would want K plus L plus 1. and have that be that. And we're going to say that we're going to combine that on there. And then we just set skips to be whatever it is and then go. Now the skips is going to take care of itself as we saw up above, right? And this now has the whole set in it. And then we write, and so at this point, maybe we've just replaced the sentence. Otherwise, it was what it was originally, which is going to be most of the cases. And we add that on to this new clean sentences, which in the case of this is this list, right? So we have that now. That's clean sentences. And we can get rid of that. And on this paragraphs page, I was holding the number of sentences, and I want to be able to do this with both the original and the final. Chapter 1, paragraph 5. See, it says 7, not 8, so it's using the clean version. But I can put both of them on there. And so I decided to just hold them here. And then finally we go back in and write in the thing to the big, to our main thing that we're pulling things out of, and that's going to be the clean thing, right? So now for K set data and enumerate clean sentences, that's why K becomes this, the 0 through, or the 1 through 7 instead of the 1 through 8. So we make a new sentence IDX that has both the old and the new, right? So we've got sentence IDX and clean sentence IDX. So that sentence IDX now includes both of those things. And then that sentence IDX is what gets held inside of our text chapter sentences thing. And I send back the sentence data 1, which was just the actual sentence. And then this was the bit that I was writing out to the file with, and we don't need that anymore. And oh yeah, this last little bit was because further up there I had, in order to combine things, in order to do the actual combination here, it's easiest just to cast everything to string when we started. So the sentence is not the text blob of the string, which has all the extra stuff. It's just the string. So here I sort of re-text blob it so that I can pull out the word tags. But that was, that was no big deal. And then let's see. Yeah, then this is looking at text chapter sentences. So this user info is going to be correct. It's going to get what was written into the big structure, which is this, which takes the cleaning into account. And then that gets put back in here. And then down here in the place where we're writing, the only changes I had to make were to use the clean number and the paragraph thing. And then in the sentence thing, we pull the cleaning out of the thing that we saved into corpus. We save that into corpus cleaning. And so we just do the drill down. If the chapter's in there, if the paragraph is in there, then the sentence is in there. Then it's the semicolon separated set of the cleaning instructions that were given. Otherwise, it's just an empty thing, and it gets put in there. And notice we have SIDX and SIDX1, so we did those. And then I modified the little formatting so that it, moved things over appropriately because I was adding another column, and changed the widths around and stuff. And now we have this, and it is working. This is what I wanted to accomplish. So that's it. I suspect this is a very long and rambling thing, but I really did want to have as much of this, on tape, so to speak, as we can. Even some of the more rambly parts. But I mean, I worked for several hours to really perfect that and think through everything that I wanted to think, and I didn't need all of that on tape, but I'm glad I did the first part of it. Anyway, I'll put all these together into one thing and call that that, and after this, the next thing will be something different. And then we got to, well, then it's, you know, over time we'll have to fill these things in. What I need to do is I need to make it to where it will alternate highlighting like this. Oops. Like that. Like that type of thing, right? Where you get the alternated things so we can see, visually separate the paragraphs like that. It is computationally very expensive. Not computationally, it's time-wise very expensive. Memory-wise, I don't know what. It takes a long time to write, to really like put highlighting on things like this. Makes the Excel file a lot bigger. But I do figure we're going to be looking at this a lot and thinking about like how to separate those things out. I mean, really, the alternating highlighting is the best. So that may be something I'll work on next. The other thing to work on is the Vault, the Obsidian Vault text file stuff. That needs to be sort of like reintegrated into the whole fold of this thing, because I've just been working off of the single copy that I saved out for a while now. But actually, the next thing that's probably going to happen is, well, I don't know. I don't know. We're close to the time where we're actually going to start. We've done some testing, and we think that technologically it's going to work with the three of us all on at the same time. So we still have to do that. We'll get there pretty soon though, and then the thing will really then the project will really for real be started, instead of just me doing this kind of crap. Anyway, that's it for this time. Don't save. That's it for this time.